Well, thank you all for joining us this morning. I'm starting just a little bit early so that we can keep on time. We're hoping to get through 10 questions. And I know Rich Vincent, who is our moderator, is going to go over the expectations, if you will, in the room. But so I just wanted to start a little bit early so that we don't waste your time, because really, the guts of this event this morning are our candidates, okay? So first and foremost, I want to thank the Cabot, off Cabot, for hosting us this morning. Yes, right? And before I introduce their board chairman, I also want to thank West Street Cafe in Beverly Farms for doing all the food this morning. And they do have brochures, they do catering, etc., so please consider them if for your next event or party or whatever you have, okay? We appreciate that. At this time, let me introduce Mark Jaffe. He is the chairman of the board at the Cabot, to say a few words, and we are so grateful that you're here.
Well, thank you very much. First of all, who's been to Off Cabot? Raise your hand. Oh, wow. Pretty much, that's great. I just want to give you, this is a commercial for the Cabot. First, thank you for coming. But I get to talk a little bit, and I want to just tell you a couple facts and some things that are coming up. This is our 9th year with the Cabot Theater, 2nd year with the Comedy Club. The first year, our budget was $1.2 million, and we had about 20,000 plus people that came to our venues. This year, our budget is $7.2 million, and we have 100,000 people that are going to visit the Cabot. And the community has been fabulous to us. They've supported us, and I think it's been a great two-way street, because if you go into restaurants right before a Cabot event, you know that a lot of the people having dinner are going to be walking down the street and seeing a great show. And that really, that community involvement has been fabulous for the Cabot, and it's something that we need desperately. We are just about finishing, or we're going to start the last portion of our renovation process in the next year or two, which is great. Everything on the inside has been done. We've put in $7.5 million, and we have to finish the exterior. We have to redo some offices upstairs and a downstairs area to take care of green rooms and take care of the people that bring our artists to the Cabot. And we're going to get a special lounge for our top members. And you're going to start seeing pictures, and we're going to start going through the town boards, and hopefully within a year we'll start construction. And I think you'll be just extremely happy with the change to the Beverly area and, with our new renovated Cabot, and we're proud to do it and look forward to doing it. The second thing I want to talk to you about is on May 11th, we have our big night celebration. And we are honoring Thad Semensko from SV Design, who's a great guy. Probably has redone some of your homes or businesses. We also have as our headliner, Jay Leno. So it's going to be a tough ticket to come by. And so we have Kimberly here. Where's Kimberly? Raise her over there. If we have opportunities for tickets through sponsorships and things like that. If you want to make sure you get a ticket, please give her your email so she can send you out a sponsorship form, because I know we're going to be sold out, and it should be an absolutely fabulous night. Again, I want to thank you for coming tonight, but again, I also want to thank you for all the community support that we've received. We could not be in Beverly without your support. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Mark. Thank you, Mark. So don't forget May 11th. It's going to be a fabulous event. I also want to thank BevCam for being here. Thank you, Kim. They are going to rebroadcast. They are going to rebroadcast this event for the community, which I am very grateful for. Oh, you are? Well, then this is even better. This is even better. Okay, I also want to thank our sponsors, which we can, without sponsorship, we can't make these events possible. Beth Israel Leahy Hospital, Beverly Hospital is one of our gold sponsors. And I also want to thank Anchor Home Medical and Pharmacy, right here. Stand up, Wally. We are very grateful for their support this morning. I also want to, of course, recognize our officials, elected officials in the room. If I missed anyone, just shout it out. That happens. Representative Jerry Paracella, I know you showed up. Woohoo! Thank you so much, Jerry. City Council President Julie Flowers. City Councilman Todd Rotundo. City Councilor Hannah Bowen, is she here? I know she was on our list. Don't want to miss her. And we have school committee member Lorinda Visnick, which is, she's actually acting as me today. She's the best. I also want to thank Kimberly Ballard and her incredible staff for setting up the room, getting here early, putting this all together for us, and just allowing us to be here this morning. So grateful. I also want to mention Donna Musamichi. Hello, Donna. Say hi. Our communications and membership manager. And our former assistant director, Robin Foster's in the house. And before I introduce our awesome board chairman, I just want to remind everyone that the Chamber of Commerce, the Greater Beverly Chamber of Commerce, we do this as a community service. We do this as our responsibility. It's part of our mission. We're all about workforce and economic development and job creation. So we do not back a candidate. That's really important for you to know. We do not endorse any candidate. This is strictly educational for all of our benefit, okay? Our goal is to also hopefully allow people to go to the mic if we have hopefully about 10 minutes left of time so that you can ask some of your questions as well. And without further ado, I would like to introduce our board chairman for this year, Medley Long III. Thank you so much.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us this morning for our Greater Beverly Chamber of Commerce Candidates Mayoral Forum. The Greater Beverly Chamber of Commerce serves as a welcoming hub in our city, offering leadership, resources, networking, and advocacy for our member businesses. We represent over 400 businesses and over 4,000 employees in the Greater Beverly region. But, well, we can't lose you yet. By fostering the community collaboration and connections we create at the Chamber, we collectively contribute to making our region vibrant. And events like this today add to that. Now I would like to also introduce our Vice President of the Board and our Chairman of the Greater Beverly Chamber of Commerce Government Affairs Committee, Rich Vincent, who will moderate.
Thank you, Medley. And good morning, everyone. Hold on. All right, very good. So, why don't we get started? I would like to bring the candidates up, please. Would Jamie Zarella please come up? Jamie Zarella is the owner of Big Jim's Auto Shop and is running for office for the first time. Welcome, Jamie. Would Mayor Michael Cahill please come up? Mayor Michael Cahill is seeking his sixth two-year term as mayor. Thank you, Mayor. All right. So what I would like to do is go over the rules of this morning's forum. We ask that everyone in the audience hold their applause till the end and remain quiet while the candidates are speaking. There are going to be 10 questions Each candidate has been given these in advance, allowing them time to prepare for an answer. In responding to the question, we will alternate between candidates, giving each the opportunity to go first and second. Each candidate will have 3 minutes to answer the question. Leslie Gould, our director, will be keeping the time and will signal each candidate when 1 minute remaining with a 1 minute remaining warning. At the end of the 10 questions, each candidate will have 3 minutes to present a closing statement. Prior to our meeting here, Mayor Cahill, we did a coin toss, and Mayor Cahill won the toss and is selected to go second in answering the questions, and will be second in presenting the closing statement. And gentlemen, I wish you the best, and let us begin.
Mayor, may I just ask you to please move your mic closer to you so that when I take the picture. Thank you. Sorry. I'm also going to give a 1 minute. 1 minute and then time.
All right, so Jamie, you will be going first on this. Beverly is uniquely situated with 2 commuter rail branch lines and multiple stations. Better rail service would unlock Beverly's potential both for business and residents. As mayor, how would you engage the MBTA and state to increase frequency and reliability of the commuter rail? You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. The commuter rail service to Beverly is one of many things that makes it an attractive place to live and work. We can take advantage of the benefits we already enjoy by making the commuter rail service more accessible to our residents and visitors. One way to do this, again, is to promote and provide a local jitney service that includes the existing commuter rail stops as part of their regular route. As I stated earlier, a jitney-type service would also contribute to the solution of our downtown parking issues and would promote a more pedestrian-friendly downtown. On a larger scale, I would work with other communities benefiting from the commuter rail system to speak with and united in common voice to identify in which ways the MBTA could improve services.
You're done, Jamie? Yes. Okay. Mayor.
Thank you, Rich. Thank you, everybody, for being here. This is a fantastic group in the room, a big part of the fabric of our community, I can see. And I do want to, if I could, acknowledge somebody who, unlike Jamie and me, does not have an opponent. So, as you know, Councilor Estelle Rand is retiring from the City Council. Danielle Spang is running. Danielle, could you please let people know who you are? Since Danielle is unopposed, we're all hopeful she will be the Ward 2 City Councilor next year. One of us will get to work with her. So anyway, thanks. I've been working for my 10 years as mayor with you folks, and I've been working with the state to try to get our transit to be improved. The bottom line for us is Greater Boston is one of the truly great places in the world to start a business, grow a business, come to school, make a life, settle down, try to find a home. And yet, in order for this whole region to be what it can be for the next century, we need a world-class transit system. We're really blessed to have, we had 5, now we have 4. The Pride's Crossing Station was closed. We have 4 train stations in Beverly. And we as a city have really leaned on that for 25 plus years through 2 master plans with a real kind of city commitment to addressing our needed economic investments and our needed housing through redevelopment of existing parcels, really in our downtown near our main train station, and eventually in the future when the transit's improved at our other stations. So I was actually able to serve back in 2018, 2019, Governor Baker put me on a committee called the Rail Visioning Committee, which was looking at the future of rail in Massachusetts. 23 people from different walks of life from all over the region. The MBTA gave us 8 alternatives for how to move forward with the rail. 1 vote, 23-0, full electrification and full station rebuild of the whole system, 400 plus miles, is the only way that our region can thrive for the next century. So I've been working on that for years. Continue with friends throughout the region, city and town leaders throughout the region, planners, town managers, mayors, working with the North Shore Alliance for Economic Development, with the Commuter Rail Coalition, with Transit Matters, with the MBTA and with their electrification team, because this is on the books. When the Rail Visioning Committee recommended this, the MBTA Control Board embraced it in the document. Then COVID hit and everything got knocked sideways. So the reality is this is the biggest of the investments. It's in subway, it's in rail, it's in buses, it's in moving people around our region because everything's interconnected. Transportation, housing, jobs, the ability to create jobs, grow jobs, the ability to get to school, the ability to get to doctor's appointments, how we move around our region. It starts with the big investments, and then it also includes trying to make sure that we can get around Beverly, between communities, whether that be by bus, bike, walk, ride share. We're trying to invest in all of it, and the biggest investment that needs to come is really from the state. We're working at it, and we believe that with the Healy Driscoll administration, that they understand it, and they're also pushing it forward. So thanks.
Thank you. Mayor, you will be answering the next question, but I want to take a second. I want you to understand that these questions actually came from the members of the Chamber of Commerce. So these are direct questions from members. Thank you. Mayor Cahill, with regards to housing, what's your vision to make housing affordable?
So first thing that probably needs, and thank you, Rich, first thing that probably needs to be said is one small city government can't solve our region's housing crisis. We are, by all measures, 200,000 homes short of meeting the need in our region. And again, I'm going to Greater Boston. Beverly, as we all know, has really embraced transit-oriented development for 25 plus years. The transit needs to be better. We just talked about that. As far as housing goes, we continue to believe in that, and we continue to be, as a community zone, for housing to be developed where it makes most sense. I will say that on the affordable side of things, we have partnered as a community, and you heard some of the local elected officials and representative mentioned at the beginning, this is all a partnership. We work at all levels of government, and we're all really consistently bought in to making sure that people can afford to live in Beverly. So as a community, we twice increased the requirements through our inclusionary housing ordinance. So now if anybody builds housing in Beverly, they need to provide 12% of the units need to be affordable for people making under 60% of the area median income. And that's really targeted to make sure that people who are trying to make a life in Beverly, who are working in Beverly, or working in the regional economy can continue to live here, come and live here. So we've improved that a couple of times. We have taken some city properties, McKay School, and then Briscoe, and made them available for housing. Briscoe, the community made a priority out of deeply affordable senior housing. So our friends at Harbor Light Homes and Beacon Properties partnered up, and they're renovating Briscoe to 85 permanently deeply affordable senior apartments. We will hopefully, with the dollar store parcel that the city bought last year, we'll hopefully eventually be RFPing that, offering that for sale. Not the building. The building eventually needs to be commercial retail again. But the air rights over the parking behind for a modest 50-unit workforce affordable housing redevelopment or development above the parking. They would need to create their own parking on a second level and then a couple levels of housing. Those would be apartments, again, for people who are trying to stay in Beverly, don't want to be priced out, are working here or nearby. And so those are some of the things that we're focusing on. We continue, we've supported the YMCA in Harbor Light when they redid the housing at Cabot Street Y, and added 22 new units for individuals who need supportive services. We created a 40-hour zoning district just up the hill from the high school. And Harbor Light is about to start phase 2 of a total of 77 homes for families who need help in staying in the community. So It's a priority. We're going to keep on working at it. I hope I had the chance to do so. Thank you.
Jamie?
Whoever's parked out front, right immediately out front, if you are, the police are going to tow you. Thank you. So, don't move your car, please.
All right, and, wow, half the room emptied out. Okay. No, that's good, thank you. All right, we're going to continue on, thank you. Jamie, your response, please.
Okay, thank you. Housing affordability is a function of supply and demand, cost of construction and operation. On a municipal level, we can influence supply by making sure that our zoning allows the appropriate concentration of housing, and influences cost by streamlining the permitting process. We can be effective partners in repurposing existing buildings for residential use, and by providing relief from regulations that unreasonably or unnecessarily limit residential reuse. Thank you.
Jamie, you'll be answering the next question. We need more parking. How are we going to create more parking for our downtown?
That's a tricky one. People outside really want to know. So we do need better answers to our downtown parking situation. Creating parking downtown probably isn't one of them because the downtown area is developed. Creation of parking by the city would require converting an existing property or use into parking. It would be smarter to make better and fuller use of parking assets that already exist. We don't have a downtown parking problem. We have several downtown parking problems, each of which may require a different solution. In some parts of downtown area, we have commuter parking problem. In other residents, parking problem. In others, I'm sorry. We have commuter parking problems. In others, a resident parking problem. In others, we have problems meeting the needs of visitors to the downtown area, in which I would now include the waterfront, who are there for a particular purpose or attraction. We need to identify and understand the problem before we can fix it. Many of our residential neighborhoods predate the automobile, meaning that back then cars weren't available, but the housing was available, and they didn't have driveways back then, so they parked in the streets. And do not have the spaces to solve the parking problem off-street. Answer may be neighborhood parking only, and free overflow parking in municipal lots for vehicles neighborhood parking permits. In new development, we need to be honest with ourselves about the real parking demand that the new development presents. We must make sure that those requirements are actually reflected in our zoning and planning ordinances. To stop granting waivers of parking standards. We must protect and preserve the parking that we have. The answers to the business parking issues may be to utilize remote and underutilized parking assets. This might benefit from or require a local trolley or jitney system that could operate as a regular service on defined routes. We could look to the affected businesses or the Chamber of Commerce to create and operate the system or explore availability of public or grant funding. Taking properties by eminent domain is not the answer. The city needs to partner with the businesses, community, to solve the problem that cannot and should not be done without doing so. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Cahill?
Thanks, Rich. So I think first it helps to define need. The city's conducted 2 parking studies since I've been mayor, one in 2016 and 17 and one in 2022-23. And I'd really invite you all to go take a look. I can't certainly put it all out here in a few minutes. But what those parking studies have shown in our downtown is less about a lack of parking and more about utilization. Okay, the reality is, I get it, people want to park within sight of the front door of where they're going, right? And so the parking closest to the restaurants and the businesses, and particularly in the evening, and we still have our real challenge with parking on Friday and Saturday nights with the restaurants and the live entertainment venues. The utilization in these studies shows there's always parking available, but it may be 1 to 2 blocks from where people are going. So among the recommendations are from these studies, and we've started to try to implement, trying to create better signage to help people better understand where there's available parking. If where they're looking first, they can't find parking. Second, we have our public parking, and then there's a lot of private parking. A lot of private parking that's only used during the day, Monday to Friday. Last year, we re-signed the parking lot at City Hall to say from 4 p.m. Friday till midnight Sunday, it's wide open for anyone to use. And we really want people who are, and particularly if it's the City Hall lot, maybe somebody going to the Cabot doesn't want to use it, somebody coming here can. So working with our local businesses to make sure that their staff know where to park that's maybe not right at the front door, working to make sure patrons know is important. So signage and communications there. And back to the private side of things, there will be, hopefully, some arrangements put in place with private property owners who don't need their parking on the weekend, who don't need their parking at night. So those are some of the things that I'd like to get to be able to work on going forward. The city buying the dollar store lot, that was critically important. Now, people have relied on the parking there for 60 years. It's never been ours. We've never owned it, but we've always kind of thought that we did, or the community kind of assumed. So when they wanted to redevelop that parcel into housing, they wanted to take all that parking and put it to the housing. We spent 3 years trying to figure out with them how to preserve the public access to parking, recreate public parking, and it just wasn't working. So then we did an appraisal and realized that we could own the parcel for less than we were looking at trying to partner with them to build parking underground, to build an extra level of parking, so that became the right route to go. So now we preserved that 108 parking spaces here in the middle of the Cabot Street downtown, forever. We similarly were able to buy Rowan's when they closed, with 80% of it being state money, and that's starting to help with the needs at the Harborfront. If I could say, I know my time's up, but you recognize Councilor Bowen, and she is here with us. I want to make sure she's noticed. Thanks.
Mayor Cahill, you'll be answering this next question. Is there more development in the future for downtown, and what would that look like?
So you see us shuffling because the questions were in a certain order and now they're in a different order.
We
So I
tricked
think
them.
Jamie and I both maybe had things that we're referencing in questions that we would have answered in an earlier one, but it's not the earlier one.
I blame Rich.
But it's a good move, Rich. Makes
Keeping you on
makes
your
us
toes.
hustle. So you know that our zoning in the downtown was recently adjusted. We spent some time last year, City Council and our planning department and me, in looking at what people really need in our community. And the master planning process that took place from 2018 through 2020 identified some real priorities for changing zoning. And these are reflected in the zoning changes we made last year. So the tall building overlay on Rantoul that allowed for 75-foot buildings has been rescinded. So in the future, no buildings on Rantoul can be built over 55 feet. On Cabot, for 60-plus years, there's been 55-foot zoning. People don't really want to see Cabot in the same light as Rantoul. We took that zoning down to 45 feet, so it can be no more than 45 feet and 4 stories. And then the whole largely residential neighborhood between Cabot and Rantoul that nobody thought of this way. It also, for 60-plus years, has been on the books at 55 feet. So not wanting to see the character of those neighborhoods change, we took that down to 40 feet, which allows for 3 stories, which is typically what's there. And in some cases, 3.5 stories, the idea of a dormer, right, that might allow for additional. So those changes were made in the downtown. At the same time, we increased the inclusionary requirements to try to make sure there's more affordable in any new redevelopments. And with that said, the answer is yes. The zoning is what it is. We will see additional housing creation throughout the community. And since we know how stark the housing shortage is region-wide and how that plays into affordability, it really does matter. And then the last point is the council is currently considering an accessory dwelling unit proposed ordinance that would allow for apartments to be built in houses, as additions to houses, as a standalone. Some really tight parameters on how that can be done so that it works for the community. But it's a way, if it's passed, it's a way to begin to see some additional homes created in other parts of the community, because the downtown has really been the focus for a long time. And that's a way also for people to be able to remain in their homes, hopefully, if they're able to get some help with a rental income as they stay in their homes. So lots on that front, and the simple answer is yes.
Very good. Mr. Zarella?
The city spends considerable time and effort every few years to update its master plan and adjusting its zoning ordinance to enable the development identified in the plan. From a business and commercial perspective, our zoning ordinance is adequate for the growth called for in the most recent master plan, although I believe that some of the height restrictions could be revisited. I do believe that the residential zoning requirements should be re-examined to allow for more 2- and 3-family living situations.
Thank you.
I'm
You'll,
so sorry to do this. If anyone has a BMW with the license plate of 7CJ786, you're about to be towed. And if you have a license plate of ABNW10, you also are an offender. My apologies.
okay. So, Jamie, you will be... Okay. Jamie, you'll be answering the next question. Do you see our current zoning as adequate for growth? Are there missed opportunities?
I think I actually made a mistake and actually just did that. I'm going to have to go ahead and pass this over to Mike.
Okay. Mayor Cahill.
You want to repeat the question, Rich, if you don't mind?
Sure.
Yeah.
Do you see our current zoning as adequate for growth? Are there missed opportunities?
Thank you, Rich. And in the last answer that I gave, I touched on the new zoning. So this is really, the zoning adjustments in our downtown only went into effect in the last several months. So it's a great question, and I feel like there are thoughts behind that question that have me wanting to come meet with the Chamber's Government Affairs Committee and hear what you're thinking. But to my thoughts on it, as I said, during the master planning process, it became clear that these changes were desired. They were real values the community held to, and as you can understand, lowering heights on Rantoul, lowering heights on Cabot, lowering heights in between, it does have a real focus on trying to right-size the potential full build-out, right? Trying to right-size just how much density can come into our downtown. It doesn't prevent there from being additional housing built, but it does say it's not going to be on any one parcel with any one project. It's not going to be quite as high, quite as dense. So I don't think missed opportunity. I think as a community, we get to set our values that way. One thing about Beverly that I've always loved and appreciated is that if you find this community and you fall in love with it like so many of us or our parents or grandparents have, and you say, I want to make my life here, there's always been the ability to do that. And that's one of the things that is at risk with our housing challenges. So I do think that it's important that in the zoning changes we made, we didn't really overly constrain the ability for people to still create housing in Beverly. The other thing I do want to say is there's another area, it's been the subject of lots of conversation over many years. I think I'm the third mayor to have this on my plate, and that's the Bass River overlay, the idea of doing housing behind the train station. It's on the shelf. We're not looking at it now. We thought it might be ripe and ready for conversation a few years ago, but when the state let their bridge fall apart and closed it, that's when we had to say, okay, we can't talk about facilitating, changing our zoning to facilitate more housing being created right there on the banks of the Bass River when we don't have that bridge to drive over. So that's an opportunity that's really probably well into the future, because the benefit of not looking at that right now is we know that the train service, the train capabilities, the transportation about the region needs to be vastly improved. So there's time now for all that to take place. And I think that's a benefit. And that's some place that, sometime in the future is going to be worth revisiting, because the ability to be a real 21st century walkable, bikeable downtown, that's how our community can continue to thrive into the coming decades.
Mr. Mayor, you'll be answering the next question. Regarding the waterfront, what is your vision to capitalize on the economic impact of the harbor and connect it to the downtown?
Thanks, Rich. So the harbor front, if we think about it, it's not a lot of land. It's not a lot of opportunity. I shouldn't say, there is opportunity for sure. And the new waterfront restaurant is a real benefit to the community, and I hope everybody's been there and enjoyed it. We've been trying to plan for that. As I said, we were able to purchase Rowan's with 80% of the money coming from a state seaport grant. And that's giving us some additional parking. It also is going to give us some opportunity waterside to rebuild the slips and create some additional slips, and we'll see whether there's an opportunity for more mooring. But that can bring more opportunity for people to come in and come into shore and come into the community, particularly as they look to do that during the good months of the year. Connecting the harbor front to the downtowns, if you think about the housing that exists, the homes that exist down now on the old factory at the bottom of Goat Hill, the Sedna apartments, if you think about the housing that is being created, the homes being created at the base of Rantoul Street now, we're already, and if you look at the three intersections project where the state funded us to rebuild the Henry's intersection, the golf and tennis, and the one at the bottom of Cabot and Rantoul. This is already creating a much more walkable neighborhood. You add the restaurants, the anchor's fantastic. You got Mission Boathouse. We've got the public piers. There was a rezone that we did 8 years ago of the balance of that harbor front. Nothing's happened with that yet. We'll see if something does or not. But connecting the people who are there, the people who are coming, the businesses who are there to the downtown is already happening. I think some of it will be organic and it's walkable. But for those who don't think it's walkable, we talked a lot before COVID, and I really want to revisit because I think it's time. A Friday and Saturday night shuttle right through our downtown. Think about people coming from the train, people parking in the MBTA garage, people living downtown, people stepping out their front door, a shuttle that runs throughout the downtown on a Friday and Saturday night that drops people off at dinner, picks them up at dinner, takes them to a show, allows for more enjoyment of our downtown with less driving. Hopefully we'll have people who can come and park near to the downtown, and that can be a part of the shuttle route there. Before COVID, we were looking to finance that through working with the Chamber and Main Streets on businesses helping to step up. The business is still trying to recover from COVID. We're now looking at other ways to try to get that started, see how it works, see if it takes, because I think there's fantastic opportunity there, and it could really take our downtown to the next step and show us how to do more of that kind of work, shuttling and moving people around in the future.
Jamie.
So the Harborfront area is largely privately owned and heavily regulated by the state and federal governments. Our local regulations should be examined, and owners of the waterfront area property should be consulted to see if there's a shared vision for improvement or redevelopment. The connection between the harbor and the downtown is important. We should take advantage of the attraction of the marinas and restaurants in the waterfront area and find ways to connect people drawn to those assets to the downtown area. This could be done in conjunction with the effort to distribute parking by providing a regular transport service between underused parking facilities in the downtown and harborfront areas.
Thank you. Jamie, you'll be answering the next question first. The timetable of the Hall-Whitaker Bridge is a major concern, especially for those of us on live in Ryleside. While we understand this is an effort involving many state-level agencies, what is your plan going forward to ensure we are able to achieve the best schedule possible, and how will you communicate the progress?
The Hall-Whitaker Bridge timetable is a disgrace. The isolation of a major portion of our city from the downtown area is simply not acceptable. Bridges fail all the time. Instead of putting a temporary structure, we should be immediately implementing and fast-tracking a design as well as permits to make sure the bridge is completed right away. Mayor, along with state agencies, should be advocating strongly and daily for permanent structure, and should demand that the governor and executive branch act exponentially. You can't get there from here is not the answer that we should accept, and certainly not one that should be imposed on Ryleside.
Mayor?
Thank you, Rich. So, for the last 16 months from the day that MassDOT called and said we need to come in and meet with you tomorrow, I've been working with MassDOT, with the federal agencies, with the two administrations, governor's offices, on trying to move this project. The reason that we need to go with a temporary bridge first, and this all came out over several months of research, was, or is, the state's been afraid of the Kernwood failing for years. Getting a temporary bridge over the Bass River is going to allow the state to then demo the permanent, the old Hall-Whitaker and old Kernwood, and build new ones both at the same time. And that's their commitment. So there's a race to get to the temporary bridge and get it in place. I will tell you that with 5 agencies, 3 federal and 2 state, Army Corps of Engineers, Marine Fisheries, Coast Guard, and at the state Transportation and Environmental, 5 different agencies having their hands in needed permits, with MassDOT responsible for the design of all these bridges. There's a lot of complexity, and it is frustrating. It's frustrating as can be, because we all want it built yesterday. So what we've gotten, and last Friday we had a meeting late Friday afternoon. When I say me, I mean Representative Paracella, Senator Lovely, Councilor Rotundo, our congressional and U.S. Senate offices, with MassDOT and Lieutenant Governor Driscoll in her office. And the commitments that have come out of the state's work, and the commitments of the Lieutenant Governor, and all of us are to, for those federal and state agencies are going to now meet biweekly to try to do everything they can to cut timelines. The thought that all these agencies never talk to each other shouldn't be. It's not that hard to say, y'all got to be at one table and y'all got to figure it out. And that's what's now finally happening. So the goal and the hope is that that will shorten these different permits and the way that permits impact how you can move on design to get us into building the bridge. And this is, again, the temporary Hall Whitaker. And once the Hall Whitaker is built, they can go after the rest. And that's the other commitment, is the state's committed to making sure that the other two bridges start as quickly as possible after the temporary bridge is open. The other commitment we have is to try to figure out, the state, Lieutenant Governor and I and others are working on how to figure out how to make that permanent Hall Whitaker bridge that's going to come later also a fixed span bridge, just as the temporary one will be. It'll be quicker and easier to design and build ultimately, so the goal is temporary bridge as quickly as we can, and then the others also as quickly. In terms of communication, I'm going to be communicating these updates out today, and we're trying to get MassDOT to come up in November, before the end of the year, shooting for November to get them up here to give an update in person and field people's questions. Thanks.
Thank you. You'll be answering, Mayor Cahill, you'll be answering first. Business people are flying in and out of Beverly Airport. Where do you see Beverly Airport in the city's transportation plan, and what opportunities does?
So Beverly Airport has recently completed an update to their master plan. Beverly Airport has a new airport manager we hired earlier this year, doing a fantastic job together with the commission. They're trying to work through this very question. There are a couple of areas that the airport manager sees as bringing activity into our local economy already. And one is tourism. There's a fair amount of tourism travel in and out of the airport for people who can afford to lease private jets. And then there's also the business jet travel piece, which is well established in Beverly. We have businesses in Beverly that own jets, and they're based here and they do a lot of work in and out of Beverly Airport. We also just had the airport manager come to the city council to request on behalf of the fixed-based operator up at the airport that they build an additional hangar. And one of the questions was, won't more hangars mean more flights? And we're very sensitive to the adjoining neighborhoods in 3 communities and the need for the airport to be a good neighbor. And the airport manager said, actually, we have jets that fly in, leave people off, and because we don't have sufficient hangar space, they'll fly out to another airport, and then they'll come back the next day. So they're in and out twice instead of once. And so that's an example of, I think, being very thoughtful about how the airport is going to continue to evolve in a way that is always a good neighbor to neighbors, because none of us really appreciate that kind of noise and disruption in our own quiet enjoyment as well.
Jamie?
The Beverly Airport is a unique asset to Beverly in the region. Residential and commercial development around the airport is sufficiently complete and mature that it appears that the airport is approaching or has reached the limits of its physical expansion. The Airport Commission that is charged with the management of the airport is largely autonomous and receives the bulk of its funding and direction from sources other than the city. I see the airport as one of many assets that makes Beverly an attractive place to live and to do business. And I intend to continue to support it and extend required allowed by law.
Thank you. Jimmy, you'll be answering the next question first. Significantly reducing the carbon footprint of Beverly will require a collaborative effort. Which businesses, organizations, and/or agencies will you work with to support the transition to a greener Beverly?
Transitioning to a greener Beverly will indeed require a collaborative effort from involving various businesses, organizations, agencies. Here are some of the stakeholders I would work with to support this. Local businesses, collaborating with local businesses, both large and small, is essential. Encouraging sustainable practices such as an energy efficient operation, waste reduction, and responsible sourcing can have a significant impact on reducing the city's and number 39's carbon footprint. Through the environmental organizations, engaging with environmental organizations and advocacy groups can help tap into the expertise and resource dedicated to sustainability and environmental conversation. These groups can provide valuable insight and support for greener initiatives. Educational institutions partnering with local schools, colleges, and universities can promote sustainability, education, and research. This collaboration can foster innovative solutions and engage the next generation in environmental stewardship. Government agencies, coordination in local, state, and federal government agencies is crucial. This includes working with state environmental departments, transportation authorities, and energy agencies to access funding, regulatory support, and technical expertise. Energy providers, collaborating with energy providers such as utilities and renewable energy companies is essential for transitioning to cleaner energy sources. This can involve exploring renewable energy options and energy efficiency programs. Transportation companies, encouraging public and private transportation companies to adopt cleaner and more efficient vehicles and transportation options can contribute to reducing emissions in the city. Nonprofit organizations often play a vital role in promoting sustainable incentives. The community engagement, partnering with local environmental nonprofits, can help mobilize volunteers' resources for environmental projects. Building a network of stakeholders committed to sustainability will be a cornerstone of our efforts to transition to a greener Beverly by fostering collaboration and leveraging the expertise and resources of these partners. We can make significant progress in reducing our carbon footprint and promoting environmental stewardship in the city.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor Cahill?
Thanks, Rich. So as you folks who know me well and know the work that I'm doing in Beverly, you know that this is a top priority for all of us. A couple of years ago, the U.S. Conference of Mayors, which has 1,700 mayor members around the country, named Houston, Texas, and Beverly, Massachusetts as their 2 climate cities of the year. And that's for the work that we have been doing and continue to do. We were able to write a climate. Sorry, I just get this. I get more time? Thanks. So listen, the bottom line here is we as a community know that what we do as a city government matters to our kids and grandkids, and what we do as a community at large matters. Driving down greenhouse gas emissions urgently, drastically matters. What we learned in writing the Climate Action Plan a few years ago was that our buildings, how we power our buildings, how we heat and cool our buildings, how we get around our community, that's transportation, and our waste stream, our trash, and our food waste. Those are the 3 biggest areas that we contribute greenhouse gas emissions to this world. Now, we're one small city. We can't do it on our own, and we shouldn't be expected to, but cities and towns all over the world, state and other subnational governments, national governments, everybody's doing this, and we've got to do it, right? So a couple of years ago, we came to the chamber and to Main Streets, and together we held that business energy challenge. Some of you were able to get audits of your space, of your buildings, or your rented space, of your businesses, and see how to make them more energy efficient. With the bipartisan infrastructure law passed by Congress, with the Inflation Reduction Act passed by Congress, all promoted and signed by the President, there are a lot of resources, a lot more than there used to be. There's up to 90% reimbursements for some of these energy efficiency measures and for changing over to electrical systems of heating and cooling buildings. So to answer the question, it's time to get back together. I've thought for a while, and like many things, this got a little bit sidetracked the last couple of years, but setting up a green council is something that I've seen other cities do. It's something that we would ask the chamber, business leaders, nonprofit leaders, our large institutional presences in Beverly, Endicott College, the hospital, Cummings Center, who have individually, along with the city, the biggest footprints, right? Trying to get all of us to one table to figure out what are the easiest paths to success in electrifying our building sector, in electrifying our transportation sector, because those are the ways we're going to cut our emissions most significantly and most quickly. Along with that, figuring out how to pull food waste out of the waste stream. All we do is put it in with our trash and pay money to have it burned. We can do a whole lot better than that. So engaging with you folks is really one of my most biggest desires on the climate work, if able to, in the coming term.
Thank you. All right, this is the last question. Mayor Cahill, you are going first. People like to comment that there is always road construction and detours, and also that the roads and sidewalks are in disrepair. As mayor, how would you balance maintaining our infrastructure versus inconveniencing the businesses and residents of the city?
So we could probably do a survey, who wants their street fixed, and then who wants to be bothered with a detour and dust and everything that comes with the work along the way, right? Look, here, we're doing everything we can, every year, throughout the year. In fact, in my 10 years as mayor, we have collectively put in $73 million into fixing roads, sidewalks, and intersections. Next year, it's going to be another 20-plus million. So, I mean, that's already teed up. So whether it's Jamie or whether it's me, that money's in place. $93+ million invested in our roads, sidewalks, and intersections in 11 years. We know the need is great. We know that there's a backlog. It goes back decades. There's a lot of work to do, and we're doing it every day of the year. Now, in terms of the challenges that come with the work, we work also every day to plan for and try to mitigate and minimize the type of impact that can come from the work, because nobody likes to be inconvenienced by the job, right? Couple of successes we've had recently, and they both had to do in part with trying to find the quietest time of the year, right? We needed to repave from County Way to the Danvers line on Elliott Street. We did that in the month of August. We had hoped that that would be the slowest commuting time with the most people on vacation. We also had a good timing plan and detour plan, and the milling or pulling off of the top layer and the paving of that road really went well. Here on Cabot Street, we knew after the earlier project from several years ago that we needed to rebuild Cabot Street from Federal Street down here to Broadway. We also knew business owners were really sensitive to trying to come out of COVID. So in talking with business owners along this stretch, last year we decided, as they asked, to wait a year. Give another year to bounce back. And then we jumped in the second the weather let us this spring. The sidewalk work took longer than any of us wanted, frustrating. And then we talked with the business owners again, and we decided to wait until the quietest last few weeks of summer leading into Labor Day, and we were able to do the street work really effectively, and now it's fully paved. So trying to work with and manage and help people out is something that we'll keep doing and try to learn from every project we do and do better as we go.
Thank you. Jamie?
Well, if you've traveled in Beverly and to and through adjoining towns, you will notice that the rough and patch roads are largely unique to Beverly. In the end, at our city limits, we do not seem to be keeping pace with our neighboring towns in keeping our roads and sidewalks passable and in good repair. Businesses and residents of the city are already inconvenienced by the apparently unrestricted, unscheduled digging of our streets and sidewalks and the complete inadequacy of their repair after the digging is done. We are falling so far behind on the regular maintenance to the point that it is going to take an extraordinary concentration of money and effort to restore our streets and sidewalks to passable conditions. As mayor, I would require an inventory of our streets and sidewalks and a schedule for their repair. I would share that inventory and schedule with local utilities providers and the Chamber of Commerce and develop and distribute a schedule for maintenance and repair. I would expect and require that the utilities coordinate any work with our public facilities department and conform to our schedule.
Thank you. So, that concludes the 10 questions that were presented by membership. What we are now going to do is, we're kind of tight on time, Liz. Yeah. So what we're going to do is, at this time, have each candidate have 3 minutes to present a closing statement. There was a coin toss prior to the forum, and Mayor Cahill had won the toss and elected to go second. So, Jamie, you will have the opportunity to go first in presenting your closing statement.
Well, this is my first time running for office. I know that my challenge is cut out for me going forward, if elected. All I can say is that I'd like the opportunity to be able to make change and be the mayor for the people.
Thank you. Mayor Cahill?
Thank you, Rich, and thanks again to everybody. Thank you for giving us your attention the last hour. I've got to say, Beverly is thriving. This community is alive. This community is strong. Every community that thrives, that continues to evolve and grow in ways that, that make the community viable for the future, also has all the things to deal with as we go. And so, we've got a really talented team of people in city government in every department. They do fantastic work. We work daily to try to make sure that our residents are listened to, that concerns are addressed. It's always imperfect. It would be with any mayor. It'll be in every community forever. It's always imperfect. But we do the very best we can every day. I will say that, you heard me say earlier, one of the great things about Beverly is it's always been a community that has its arms open and embraces people, embraces really the world. And so, whether it's you who found Beverly and chose to make it your home, or somebody much further up your family tree, this community needs to continue to be the compassionate, open community, a community that ensures that everybody who lives here has access to opportunities, and that that we're inclusive in every way. I love doing this work. I love this community. I care about neighborhoods. I care about our schools. I care about our services to our seniors, to our veterans. I think the access to our outdoor spaces, our parks, our beaches, every bit of it is what makes us who we are. The whole of it is hard to convey. I think sometimes in these kind of settings. Each and every day of the year, we're trying to balance how we address all the various needs the community has and how we continue to take advantage of opportunities the community has. So, one of the greatest things about elections is, I don't get to do this for more than these 2 years. I'm asking you for a chance to do it for 2 more. Jamie's come forward and brought his voice and his ideas and that of a group of people supporting his efforts. So campaigns really make us spend more time and listen and kind of a touchstone and revisit just what we need to be doing. And, I'm grateful for that. If I get, and please, I'm asking you to please vote for me to reelect me, and the folks who are watching now or later on BevCam, the same thing. I will continue to do everything in my power to be the best listener, collaborator, thinker, worker that our community can have. And I hope you'll embrace my ask and help me do this job for the next couple of years and work with you to keep making this community all that it can be.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the two of you for stepping forward. Well, I've just been informed that we do have a couple minutes. We would take 2 questions from the floor. Is there anybody out there that would like to ask one of the candidates a question? Yes, this gentleman here. Yep, there is a microphone right.
Can I just speak louder?
Yeah, yes.
Thank you all for doing this. Going off of what the mayor just said, I believe there's a ballot initiative about changing the term of mayor to 4 years rather than 2, which I understand would not impact this current election, but the following. I'm curious where you stand on that. Whether you think a 4-year term or a 2-year term is more appropriate for mayor?
Me first?
Yep.
So there are 42 cities in Massachusetts that have full-time mayors as CEO of the city like we do. 18 of them have 4-year terms. Any community that has moved from a 2-year, communities only move from 2 to 4 years. I've never seen it happen the other way. So, and in our region, the terms in Newburyport, Lynn, and Salem are 4-year terms, while the terms in Gloucester, Peabody, and Beverly are 2-year terms. I've always shied away from talking about it because it feels a little self-serving for somebody in office to be kind of giving an opinion on it. But one of the big concerns that people have with 4-year terms is a sense that if we get stuck with somebody who's really bad, what do we do about it? And I think you'll see that there is a recall component in any charter, and the recall is really only meant to be used if somebody is ethically or legally way over a line. It's not meant to be used if somebody doesn't agree with with how somebody's doing the job. That's meant for for the regular elections. But I don't think that if you ask people in communities with 4-year terms, I don't think they found that to be a problem. And there is, as I said, there's a real pathway to doing so if it was absolutely necessary in a community.
Jamie? Would you like to answer that?
I mean, I'm in favor, but like I said, I don't want to sound self-serving. I think it's the better model for a city, but people are going to have that say come November. Thanks.
Jamie?
I'm against it. I'm for keeping the 2-year term. I look at it this way: if you're doing a really good job, then you shouldn't have a problem getting reelected for another 2 years. If you don't do a good job, well, 2 years' time, the citizens of the town or the city that you're running for election will make that decision for you. So I definitely oppose the 4-year term.
Thank you. Is there any other questions from the floor? Yes.
My name is Paul Wildenbrock, Ehem. This is really a comment for both candidates and to anybody that's in Beverly. The only thing, and I love Beverly, but the only thing that sucks more than the Patriots is the fact of the people voted in this election. That sucks. We need to get a little bit more than that, and we're going to be for what? What's the goal? A democracy.
Excuse me. There were questions.
So, yeah, ask your question.
Yeah, I agree. Jamie, you would be next to answer the question, I guess, about, I guess the question is, how do we get people out to vote?
Well, we've been working very hard at that. My campaign, my supporters, we've been really working hard at that. Making announcements publicly in Facebook, Instagram, and all the social media challenges that we post on. It's apathy at its best, that's all I can say. It's, historically it's been this way as long as I can remember. I'm sure Mike will agree with me.
Mayor, do you have a comment?
Yes. We as candidates do everything we possibly can to reach people, to speak with people, to ask people for support, to encourage people to get out and vote come election day. I think he references a real challenge all throughout, as Jamie says, all throughout our society. So I know I will, and I know you will, we'll keep on campaigning hard and plugging and trying to make sure that people understand that at the local level you can have the greatest impact. And it seems, some people only come out and vote once every 4 years for president. And we see that in the voter data. And so to try to get people in this community to come out and vote on November 7th, we'll both keep working at it. We both want to be on top when the votes are counted, so we're going to keep trying to get people to support us and to come vote.
Well, very good. And we thank everyone for attending today, taking the time to come out and to listen to the candidates. And that concludes the forum. Thank you.